Newcastle.
No, that day was the last. He never made contact with me. That day was the last in Newcastle. Never made contact with me up until today.
Yeah, this comes into my mind as I'm standing here immediately after I've dealt with your son and what he told to this court. If my memory serves me well as well, Brigadier Kininda told this court that the reason why you could not come testify at court is because you were fearing for your life. In other words, the reason why you could not come to court here, this court, to come and testify in this case because you're fearing for your life. Thank you.
Well, as a court, please, my lord, I don't think that's how Brigadier Gidinda put it, my lord. I think the state made it clear from the beginning that this witness evidence was hearsay evidence.
Well, he lives. Valo is back, guys. It's been a whole day. 2, in fact. We hadn't heard a wink from him. We were not even sure if he was in the courtroom, but it seems he has been resuscitated and revived. And he's back with an objection to finally stand for Brigadier Bongani Nicholas Kininda. As you guys have been asking everywhere, every comment section I have. But what did Kininda say about Absolom? Why Absolom couldn't come to court? I thought he said he was unalived. No, guys. Kininda said it loud and clear with his chest that Absolom Zungu could not come to court because he was afeared. This is what happens when you record after listening to Absolom Zungu for 2 days. The pain, guys, the pain, the English is gone. He said he was afraid for his life and he was afraid for reprisal. I remember that word. Because Kininda uses specific words. That's the word he used, that he was afraid of reprisal. Him and Umpegiseni. So none of them is coming, including Kwabini as well. All of them are fearful. Does this man seem afraid of coming to the court? The only thing he is afraid of is Brigadier Bongani Nicholas Kininda. But somehow he has found the courage to confront him. Remember what he said when he came the first day? I was tortured by the police and now I'm being tortured in the court, because he had hope in the court. He really did. So even my heart is racing just recounting some of the things that he said, because it's just so surreal. These are things that you watch in movies. But this is a real life story for Absolom Zungu. And your comments have been so insightful as well. Somebody said, if Absolom Zungu could be afraid of Kininda, what more Bongani Ntanzi and Mzansi, that they suddenly confessed? Do you see how the confessions were inspired by the Brigadier? The Brigadier is a very inspirational man in the Force Confessions Department, allegedly. And then we take a slight detour and we go over there to the Madlanga Commission. Witness D. He first of all defines what tubing is. If you close your eyes and listen to him, it sounds like what Bongani Ntanzi and Mozi have been trying to say. But then it's coming from someone who was an eyewitness to all these Mgulugudu activities. He describes the tubing and how SAPS members were there and they were doing it. And it made me think of Pablo. I don't know if you guys remember Pablo. Pablo was the club whistleblower. And he shared a lot of explicit videos on Twitter on how them as security for these clubs would, I can't remember the name of the club, but it's in Pretoria, of course. They would do all these things to these young patrons if they didn't pay for their alcohol. Anyway, I'm digressing. The point that I'm getting at is what Mzansi and Bongani Danzi described, which was made to seem ridiculous, is actually being echoed next door at the Madlanga Commission. You know, the Madlanga Commission is also in Pretoria, right? Getting through this video is going to be hard. So now Baloyi stands up to object, to say, no, Brigadier Bongani Nicholas Gininda didn't say he was afraid. He did. I remember it explicitly. That's why I can confidently say to the people who say that, no, he said that Absolom Zungu had passed away. No, he did not. He said he was afraid. That is what Brigadier Bongani Nicholas Gininda said multiple times. So for Baloyi to stand up and say, well, we members of the state, we kind of think that it's hearsay evidence, with his teeth closed. Is he kidding? Where is the record? Where are the 121 dockets? Okay, no, I'm lost. Wrong video. Here we're looking for the record. The defense team, where is the record? Should be able to quote page dun on such and such a date. Gininda said, and I quote. Let's continue listening on.
I think what Brigadier Gininda said was people were unwilling to come forth with information because of the fact that the people involved are families, and there's an element of fear, but not about testifying a lot.
Please the court, my lord. As I said, if my memory serves me well, I think that is what Brigadier Gininda said. But I then appreciate what the state did, because on account of the massive oral evidence that has already been accused here at court, one cannot be faulted, my lord, to say that this witness said exactly this. Actually, what the state did here, it was just a correction on what I thought. That if it's like that, it could be a correction of what I thought Brigadier Gininda said, madam. I really appreciate what the state did, madam, because we're all here to assist the court, madam.
As a court, please, my lord. In fact, on the 17th of October, 2024, page 38, Brigadier Gininda testified that Constable Zungu indicated that he will try and persuade his father to have an interview with Brigadier Gininda and to have his statement obtained. But at line 23, on page 38, he said, my lord, it was also clear that there was a fear of reprisal. In other words, that if this thing is not handled carefully, if it was made clear to me that people will lose their lives, you know. That is what he testified.
Well, as it pleases the court, my lord, I've indicated that I appreciate what the state did, although I was specifically referring to the reason that were advanced by Brigadier Gininda as to why Mr. Zungu couldn't come and testify on behalf of the state, not from the reason that was given by Sizwe Zungu himself, that is the constable, my lord. But that is not a train smash, my lord. Now, Mr. Zungu. Makazi. Are you fine? Now, Mr. Zungu, is it correct that
And did you notice how my lord was seated in a sunken position, suddenly remembering the golden days, the days when he was actually a retired judge, not a retired returned judge. No, the golden days where golfing was the order of the day. Now he's sitting in there, bored to death. Yes, yes. That's how we can translate that body language. Very dismissive of Absolom Zungu'S testament that he has put to the stand. And not only that, it's now been labeled and tied with a pretty bow and called hearsay evidence. Where were those words when Brigadier Kininda held us hostage? With all those hearsay evidence words for months. Ladies and gentlemen, where were those words? But let me end this video right here. Remember to like, to comment, to subscribe. It absolutely helps the channel, puts a smile on my face. And I'll be back with another video. Bye.